Nobody likes being told no. It's a physical sting, isn't it? That sudden heat in your chest when someone says you're not what they're looking for. We spend our entire lives building these elaborate fortresses just to avoid that one tiny syllable. But what if you stopped running? What if you walked right up to the no and invited it out for a drink? That's the premise, anyway. This idea of rejection therapy. 100 days of seeking out failure like it's a gold mine. I've been thinking a lot about the word thick-faced, that literal translation of being shameless or unbothered. It sounds like a superpower, doesn't it? To be the person who just doesn't care what the world thinks. So I started imagining what that first day feels like. You stand there, hard hammering against your ribs, about to ask for something ridiculous. Can I have a burger refill? Or can I borrow $100 from this stranger? Most people would agree that social anxiety is just a survival mechanism that's gone a bit haywire. It's trying to keep us in the tribe, keeping us from being cast out into the wilderness where the lions are. But the wilderness is gone, and now we're just afraid of the person behind the counter at the coffee shop. On the first few days, the fear is so loud you can't even hear your own voice. You stumble over your words. You feel like everyone in the room is watching the disaster unfold. But then, the no comes. It's quick. It's polite. Sometimes it's even a bit confused. And then, nothing happens. The world doesn't end. The flaw doesn't swallow you whole. You're still standing there, breathing the same air, and you realize the no didn't actually leave a bruise. It's a strange sort of relief, like jumping into a cold lake and realizing you're not going to drown. I think you're probably nodding because we've all had those moments where we wished we were just a little bit braver. If you just had that thick skin, you could finally ask for that promotion or talk to that person across the room. On day 20, something happens to your brain. You start looking for the rejection. It becomes a game, a hunt. You walk into a store not wanting the product, but wanting the refusal. There's a dry irony in wanting to lose. It takes all the pressure off. If the goal is to be rejected, then a no is a victory and a yeses. Well, it's a confusing setback. I heard a story once about a guy who asked for Olympic-themed donuts at a shop that didn't make them. He expected a quick rejection. Instead, the baker took him seriously and actually made them. He got a yes when he was looking for a no, and it forced him to realize how much he'd been underestimating people. We assume the world is a series of closed doors, but maybe we're just the ones refusing to turn the handles. It feels like you're dismantling a prison, brick by brick, until the walls are gone. You start to feel invincible. You can say anything. You can ask for anything. The social rules that used to feel like iron bars start to look like, well, just suggestions. I guess this is where the confidence comes from, the realization that most people are just as nervous as you are. But then, round day 60 or 70, a different thought started to creep in from me. I began to wonder, if I stop caring about the no, do I also stop caring about the people saying it? When you turn social interaction into a laboratory experiment, you start to see humans as variables. You are not really connecting with that stranger you're asking for a free ride. You're just testing your own limits. It's a bit lonely, isn't it? To be so unbothered that you're essentially untouchable. I wanted to be a person that nobody could touch. That sounds like freedom when you're starting out, but it's a cold kind of freedom once you get there. You've destroyed the fear, but did you accidentally destroy the empathy that went with it? I mean, The reason we feel that sting is because we value the connection. We want to be accepted. If we train ourselves to feel nothing when we're rejected, are we still part of the tribe? Or are we just ghosts walking through a world of people we no longer need? It's a subtle shift. You don't notice it happening while you're busy being shameless. You feel like you've won. You're the one with the thick face. You're the one who can't be hurt. But a face that can't be hurt is a face that can't feel the warmth of a smile, either. I noticed something else, too. Something I hadn't expected to find in the middle of all this. The more I practiced being rejected, the more I realized I was still performing. In the beginning, I was performing polite member of society. Later, I was performing fearless seeker of truth. But in both cases, I was still obsessing over the reaction. Whether I wanted a yes or a no, my entire focus was still on the other person's response. I was still tethered to their opinion. I had just flipped the script on what I wanted that opinion to be. True freedom wouldn't be seeking rejection. It would be not needing to seek anything at all. I suppose that's the contradiction of the whole thing. You spend 100 days focusing on rejection to prove it doesn't matter, but by doing so, you make it the most important thing in your life. You're still defined by the no. You're just wearing it like a badge instead of a scar. I find myself wondering if there's a middle ground. A place where you're brave enough to ask, but soft enough to care. It's easy to be a wall. It's easy to be a doormat. It's much harder to be a window. A window lets the light in, but it's also fragile. It can be broken. If you're still listening, maybe you felt that tension, that desire to be bold, but the fear of losing your heart in the process. We want to be thick-faced so we can survive, but we want to be thin-skinned so we can actually live. It's funny how we try to fix ourselves by going to extremes. We think the cure for fear is the absence of it, but maybe the cure is just being okay with the shaking hands. I think about that guy and the donuts again. He didn't get the rejection he wanted, but he got something much better. He got a human moment. He wasn't unbothered. He was surprised. He was moved. He was vulnerable. The no would have been a shield. The yes was an opening. And I think, in our quest to be all shameless, we might be building the very shields that keep us from the things we're actually looking for. We're so afraid of the sting that we forget the sting is proof we're alive. I don't know if the 100 days actually all uproots the fear, or if it just buries it under a layer of callouses. A callus is just dead skin, after all. It protects you, but it doesn't feel. I'd rather have a scar that hurts when the weather changes than a patch of skin that feels nothing at all. I'm still not sure if I'd recommend the challenge to everyone. Maybe we don't need 100 days of rejection. Maybe we just need one day of being okay with being seen. Just one day where we don't try to be thick-faced or fearless, but just present. Even if we're stuttering, even if our face is turning red, even if the answer is a resounding no, there's a quiet irony in realizing that the ultimate goal of not caring is actually to find a better way to care. But we get lost in the tactics. We get lost in the missions. We treat our lives like a video game where we're trying to level up our social stats. But people aren't NPCs. They're not there to help us grind our way to confidence. They're just people, looking for the same things we are. I'm looking at the clock. It's been a while. I haven't asked you for anything yet, have I? Not a yes and not a no. If you've ever tried one of these challenges, or if you've ever just felt that overwhelming urge to hide, you could tell me about it. I'm curious if you found the freedom you were looking for, or if you just found a different kind of cage. I think I'll stop there for today. The thoughts are starting to loop back on themselves, like a record that's been played too many times. Nobody likes being told no, but I'm starting to think that no is the only thing that keeps us honest. Without it, we'd never know where we end and the rest of the world begins. I wanted to be a person that nobody could touch, but now I'm not so sure. Being untouchable is just another way of saying you're alone. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.